it's important for us to remember that we come from different backgrounds, we come from different types of homes. And then when if we lived alone in our own home, we may have had a different kind of style or different kind of preference in how we were living. And so while that is all okay, and we've decided that we want to combine our homes and our lives together, that is a reality, right?
Welcome to Love Lately, the podcast where we dive into the real conversations about love, relationship, and all the joys and challenges that come along with finding love and keeping it after 50.
Okay, so look, whether you're looking for love, starting over, or navigating the ins and outs of long-term commitment, we're just here to share our journey and the insights we've discovered with you.
I'm Lee, and this is my husband, Ron, and we definitely don't have all the answers. Like, trust me, we do not have all the answers. But we have many questions, and we want to unpack them with you. We will talk about what love looks like in this stage of life and how we can make it work.
So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and join us for honest, heartfelt, faith-filled conversations that remind us all it is never too late for love.
Welcome to Love Lately. All right, I am Lee Rogers, and welcome once again to Love Lately. I am so excited to have a guest with me today. So my husband Ron is not with me, but that's okay. We brought some experts in to help us navigate through some challenging topics or things that can be challenging, especially for those who have gone into either second marriages or maybe married a little bit later in life. And so today I have with us an expert in the way of interior decorating, interior design. And I know there's a difference between the two. She's told me before, so we're going to clear that up. But we have with us Lanada Duncan, who is founder of Decors Interiors. You can find her information in the description of the podcast. We'll make sure to include her website and all of her social media handles. So, Lanada, thank you so much for joining us today. We need your help. We need your help.
Thank
this
you.
topic.
I need my own help sometimes. But I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, there are. The more I talk to people, especially 50 and over, 40 and over, again, remarriages, married a little bit later, they are really trying to navigate this topic. I was talking to a friend recently who it's like a big issue. Like, her husband is not feeling completely at home in her home because it's all white, and he's like, so he just stays in the basement where he feels like he won't mess anything up. And I'm like, so let's unpack this topic. So you're gonna help a lot of people.
I already feel for him.
Yes.
No real estate whatsoever in the house.
Right. So, and I mean, that's important again. And as we're going to talk about that, like when it comes to marriage and all of those things, like a happy home is really important, and so and we've talked about this with previous topics, whether it was self-care or, writing out your goals and all of that, but how important environment is to your mindset and to how you feel, how the energy and things that you attract to you. And so never underestimate the power of a well-decorated room and home and what it can do for a marriage or relationship, your mindset, all the things, right?
I'm a firm believer of that. That's right. Absolutely.
So just quickly, how long have you been president, founder? How long has your company been around?
So we just hit the 10-year mark.
Wow.
So that's a good, I guess, milestone.
Yes.
I feel like I should have celebrated in some kind of massive way, and I did not. I just kind of let the opportunity pass. I think I just made a post on social media about it, and I just kept it moving. I don't want to necessarily like put that in my head, and I guess kind of feel like I should be somewhere at the 10-year mark or whatever. So I just kind of kept going with it. But for 10 years, I've been in business, and I would say full time in the business for about 4 years now, because prior to the 4 years ago, I was doing it kind of on a part-time basis, actually about 5 years ago now. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I've been doing the business 10 years, and I love it. Absolutely love what I do.
All
I love
right.
the smiles on people's faces. I thank you because you were one of my first
Yes.
ones.
You've done a few of my rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, offices, all of that. So
Yeah.
yes,
Great to
yes,
start with your friends.
yes. Well, going back to this topic, we'll get to this as we go through the conversation, that you've probably seen instances of this where maybe you had to combine taste and preferences and just how that all worked out.
Yeah.
But we'll start off with just talking about what has been the biggest challenge, in your opinion, couples face when they're combining homes later in life, and what would be some of your suggestions in starting to just tackle it and overcome it?
Well, it's definitely a good subject. Let me start by saying that. And I'm glad that you are addressing this because you two being newly married, I've been married we just celebrated 12 years, and we still sometimes have a struggle of, what are we going to do in particular rooms and things like that. And what I realized most, I think, in helping couples or doing this is that, it's important for us to remember that we come from different backgrounds, we come from different types of homes. And then when if we lived alone in our own home, we may have had a different kind of style or different kind of preference in how we were living. And so while that is all okay, and we've decided that we want to combine our homes and our lives together, that is a reality, right? And it takes a good amount of understanding that what we're doing is combining our
Right.
lifestyles, combining our homes. And once we understand that, and we're not selfish about it, right?
Mhm.
Because, in joining in as one, you become just that, as one. So that means that we are deciding that from here on out, we're creating a future together. And
Mhm.
that future has a lot to do with what we're reflecting in our home, in our living
Mhm.
environment.
Yeah.
And so we have to remember that it's not my home or your home, it's our home.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest challenge is that sometimes one of us is leaning more towards one of those things, my home,
Yes.
and that can cause a problem. For instance, your friend you mentioned, with the
Mhm.
guy feeling like everything's white, he doesn't want to mess it up. His only real estate is downstairs. It's like, and I can't imagine, the other spaces he can't retreat to. So technically, his combined lifestyle has shrunk down into this
Yeah.
living space for him in his house where he can feel comfortable, where he can feel at ease. And I firmly believe that our entire home should be that sanctuary for both of them,
Mm.
for both
Mm.
of them.
Yeah.
And so we're not looking for something that's completely perfect. We're looking for harmony. We're looking
Yeah.
at the living space harmonize with the things that we both like, and sometimes that includes things that we had in our individual spaces, but it's all about figuring out how to combine those things, not
Yeah.
but for harmony. So we'll get into that some more, but I think that's one of the main challenges.
I think one of the things that you said that really stands out is you said something about creating a vision for your
Mhm.
marriage and for your home. And I think sometimes people move into a home, or the person moves into their new spouse's home, and there isn't a conversation about, okay, so what is the vision we want to have for our home? Do we want to invite our children back over? Do we want grandchildren running around? Or do we want, like, what do we want this to feel like? And
Absolutely.
that conversation could help really probably set the tone for what to do next.
You got it. You got it. Absolutely. That conversation is important and it needs to be had. prior to really, if you can, you guys moving into that one space, because, if you can kind of separate some items ahead of time before you actually either buy your home or, a move in together, then it's good to just have that one individual talk with yourself introspectively, and kind of think about, you know, what you may have in your current living space that really doesn't reflect who you are anymore. Well,
Yeah.
then it really is a time for you to do it on an individual basis. And to be honest with yourself, a lot of times, for instance, we could have accumulated things from college, or, again, from times when we would hang out with friends or single friends. And when we decide that we're coming into this life together, those things may not necessarily reflect who you want to be going forward. And that's okay. That's okay. So maybe even before you make that decision and you get into that home space, because it gets to be more challenging sometimes when you're doing it as a couple. And
Yes.
so if you start off doing it before you get to that, in that situation, and then when you come into the situation where you're both living together, then let's talk about, like you just said, what kind of home we want. Do we want it to be kid friendly? Especially if you do have grandkids. In all reality, if you make your home so non-kid friendly, then, you're going to really stress yourself out when those grandkids start growing.
Right. Right.
Your home, and
Right.
you eat so many things that you don't want them to touch or whatever, your grandchild won't be, comfortable, and you won't necessarily be as comfortable because you're going to be constantly worried about it. So maybe having designated family room areas or something like that, where you can all kind of come together. You can have spaces like that, and you can have both. But even if it's just, family photos is just one of those things that I think about a lot, or just photos in general that we have that you really got to come together on. So that's where the whole idea of gallery walls and things like that can really work, because you can mesh a part of who you were and then a part of who you guys have become together, your travels, your family, and all of that together. But yeah, having that talk ahead of time is extremely important. Deciding what kind of home you want to create, is extremely important. And what your lifestyles, what do you want to reflect in your married lifestyle?
Right.
Do you want cozy and comfortable? Do you want shabby? Do you want chic and luxury? And, do you want a mixture of the balances of the two styles?
Right. So you've kind of already touched on this next question a little bit about how to approach blending different design styles. So if your future husband loves everything all black and sleek and metal and hard surfaces, and you're more of a farmhouse and rustic and all of that,
Yeah.
how do you I like what you said first about getting rid of things that maybe don't fit who you are anymore. But what are some other tricks or tips that you may have when thinking about, you have two different styles and how are you going to bring them together?
Yeah. So marrying the two styles can be a big one too. That can be a challenge, right? I think it's important well, first of all, as a designer, sometimes you may have to bring in a third party
Yes.
to do this. Let me just say that.
Yes.
And it's okay as well, because sometimes it's just, you can just have a consultant come in and just say, we'd like for you to consult with us just to help us kind of marry the two styles and tell us which direction to go in. But, there can absolutely be, I think it's great to have a, throwaway pal, a keep pal, and we're not so sure, but for now, we want to hang on to it and let's just figure it out later on as we, live together and grow together and that kind of thing. So that may be possible. And as far as the styles go, you can certainly have someone that may be very modern, mid-century modern, and someone that may be even very traditional. So maybe it's the sofa of a modern sofa that stays, and maybe it's a table that's more on the traditional contemporary side. That it's all about balance, as we said.
Balance.
It's about creating that balance to where you've married the two styles, to where all of your spaces aren't just one particular design style. You have decided that you want comfort, and so create, having a sofa that's any of those, and then bringing it together with some tables or with some throw pillows and some other things, or bringing someone in to just accessorize those things that you put together, that's probably where you're creating the magic in your home.
Yeah.
So it's just, you have to decide together that we want to go for comfort, right?
Yeah.
We want to go for balance and for comfort. And it's not about the styling. It's about the balance and the comfort and the harmony. That's the main important thing that you guys need to decide on, whatever that is for you, you know?
Yeah.
And so if that is the case, that will help you make decisions better.
Yeah.
So that when it comes down to where there's friction or whatever, there's a disagreement on what we keep and what we have to remind each other, remember, we're going for comfort. Does this take us to our goal? And if it doesn't, then let's agree and, set your intention. And I'll set your intention.
Yes.
That's what your intention is. Stick with your intentions.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So I like what you said earlier about a gallery wall, but what's your advice on handling sentimental items or non-negotiables that each partner wants to keep in the new space?
So I think it's the same thing. It's just making sure that those things that are non-negotiables are balanced with one. I'm gonna go because I've had this. I'm laughing because this is hitting home.
Right. I'm having a few moments myself. Like,
no,
yeah.
There are non-negotiables that I have and my husband's had, and I'll just share with you first how we've dealt with them over the years, and then how I hammer over the head. That's not even in anymore. It's not even in style.
Right.
But when I know that he has the passion for a certain type of art, or I don't know if I would call it historical memorabilia, or just certain things that he collects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for him to have those in the home or somewhere. Then our negotiating, our collaborating together and setting our intentions and all this has helped us decide where they go. Let me just put it that way. While it's important and it's a non-negotiable, it doesn't have to be displayed all over the house.
Right. Do we have to have it displayed?
We have to have it right. So I'm just going to tell you what one of the things his is. Now, he loves books and things like that. Many of them that he's read over time, a lot of times before we even met. And, while I love books too, I don't want them absolutely in every room, and, we don't have a ton of shelving space to display them everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we've just designated a place and a certain type of shelf where we can put these, and anything over this amount or what doesn't fit here, you have to find a space in your area of the home, which is its man cave, for those things.
Yeah.
Or you have to decide of which ones you absolutely want to keep. But that's a non-negotiable, is that he has books around, but we just had to decide, okay, but what's the level of it? So it's making a decision. He loves these collections of, you remember that as an African American, which we are, there are certain types of pieces that came from history that depicted how other people saw us.
Yes.
Blackface, things like that. Well, he collects that as a reminder of these things. And so we've gone a lot of different shows, and he's collected these, and people are shocked that he collects it. And he's like, it's not my history at Jaws. It's the way you used to see it, And so I don't want it in the bathroom displayed. I don't want it. And so there are pictures of it. There's all kinds of things, sheet music, stuff like that. But we have negotiated as to where they can be in the house. Yes. So that's the kind of thing that I'm referring to, because if not, then one of you, the home's going to be unleveled, and their space is going to feel unleveled, and there won't be harmony there for both of you. And so it's important that you're doing your best to create that kind of harmony, and that we remember again, what was the intention of how our home is not a museum.
Right.
We were creating as here, what was our intention? So that's an example of a time and how
Yeah.
you kind of work through that.
So what are some common mistakes? You probably walk in homes all the time and like start looking around like, ugh, that should not be there or whatever. But
I try
what
not to be so gross. No.
what have you seen like maybe some mistakes that people make in the very beginning when they come together? Maybe just trying to put everything in the same room and
Mm. Um, well, I do think one of them is that what comes off the top of my head, I think, is sometimes because couples don't really know where to go with that, they do nothing. And so the space is just either boxes live there and they live there amongst their boxes because they don't really know how to blend it. And the dining room has become a storage room because they've got all this stuff and they just don't do anything with it. Or it's just a blanketed white space, you know, and no pictures are up or, or the styles are really off balance because it's just either all traditional and you go in another room and it's a shocker because nothing's balanced and that one's just totally modern. It's like, who lives here?
yeah, yeah.
Bullshit people are you? And so they didn't blend anything together. I think it's some of those have been kind of the challenges. I remember once working with a couple in my earlier days. One of my first few clients was a pastor and wife, and they had an office space that she used mostly. And at one point, when he decided to go into ministry full time, they needed there was no other area in the house for him to study and things like that. So he really needed to share this office space with her. And there was just so much going on in the space, boxes here, things on one side where she used, he was stepping over it to get to his side. And so it was just a really disarrayed space because they just didn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So, we really had to create some harmony there.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of one of the things I see a lot of couples do. They just don't do anything because they're just not sure.
Yeah. This kind of goes into the next question. You kind of touched on it, so it's a segue about how can design play a role in creating emotional safety. You talked about harmony just a second ago, and comfort in a shared home, especially because some of our audience are people who actually have lost a spouse or are going through some type of grieving. So talk about the importance of environment, your home, in having that emotional safety and comfort.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's one of the most important but forgotten things, that we forget, things that we just need to address because we lifes and we go through things that cause us stress or grief and and want to keep close to us. And so I think that our home is just really the most important sanctuary that we can have because our surroundings in general, our environment really does impact how we feel on a day to day. We sleep in our homes, we eat in our homes, we entertain in our homes, we enjoy our families. That there's just so much involved in our home interior space that we need to make sure that we are really kind of creating the kinds of environments that we need to thrive in every area of our life to at least be at peace to. When we deal with things and leave our front doors and we go outside of our home and deal with so much, we need to have a place to look forward to coming back to.
Yes. Yeah.
That's important that we look forward to at least getting home.
Yes.
And when we are in situations where we can't look forward to that, that's a problem. That's a problem. So, and it could be for whatever reason. It could be because of the people that's in that home when you get there. That look forward to it. There are people that go back to abuse spaces, homes where they suffer abuse and just things like that. So I'm not really to get into a lot of that, but I'm just trying to, really present the idea that we have to create our home for what it's supposed to be. And when we forget to do that, I think we really are neglecting ourselves. We're neglecting ourselves when we forget to kind of create these spaces. that we can't look forward to. So when we're married to one another, I think that's the perfect opportunity for us to create something that we both can look forward to. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So that, and we can do it together, which is the best thing.
So this wasn't part of my list of questions that I shared with you, so we're going to go off script a little. But when you talk about that, I think that's so powerful about just creating a space where you feel good about life, yourself, a place where you can thrive, all the things. Have you worked on, and even if you haven't, give us some thoughts, helping to create a space in your home, your bedroom, that helps with your sexual life, helping the couple to feel more romantic, more settled, more at peace with opening up. Um, so tell us any tips around that. Have you had to do that? What are your thoughts?
That's a good question. I have to start with first my personal. It hits home. Again, that one. Our bedroom, and I've done another couple's bedroom. Bedroom is just, and I'm mentioning that one in particular because it's just one of those primary spaces that, the intention of it is to be a private space for you and your partner to enjoy one another, to sleep, to enjoy sleep and rest, to enjoy one another. And so when we have these spaces, we need to again have the conversation of what does it take for you to feel relaxed to where you want to cuddle or do all the things that we need to do as a married couple, and for you to sleep well and all of these things, which again is a very important part of your home, of your lifestyle. So one is designating those spaces around your home where you want to do the things that you want to do. So that's the important part. I visited a couple, designer friend of mine yesterday, and while I was touring their home, I noticed that there's an area in their yard that the kids used to use it as a tree house, but now they've incorporated it, since the kids are grown and out of the house, made it a nice little relaxing kind of like napping space for them to watch the sun set and have coffee and watch the sun rise. That was important for them to have their moments of intimacy. And so it's designating the spaces around your home where you can create moments of intimacy that helps keep your marriage alive, right? And so for us, our bedroom was one that we needed. I liked total relaxation with a darker, moodier vibe for us.
Okay.
So we repainted the room a darker, moodier color. While I did use lighter, softer, textures were important. So we used softer bedding, things like that, pillows, dark blackout curtains, because in the night we wanted to be real large if I was sleeping. And so to darken up the room, we use blackout curtains. We get hot a lot. My husband in particular, so we have ceiling fan with the fans all over, but that helps them relax. And, when the heat gets going, it helps us go down,
Right.
That's with certain scents. I always tell people to use all of the senses, have a discussion of what scents, scents as in smells help you relax, and what scents help you feel sexy and, intimate and things like that. And then use those scents, whether through aromatherapy and things that you can do, or candles, to kind of, again, have them around you, easily accessible, so that you can really enjoy one another. And I guarantee you this will prove to be beneficial to, the two of you coming together and enjoying your home, So again, whether it's indoors or outdoors, create areas where you can have moments of intimacy.
Yeah. A lot of our listeners are, at least our target audience, are also obviously people who are single and wanting love and feeling like, maybe it's too late or whatever. And hopefully we're giving them hope. So speaking to the woman specifically, because I remember this when I went through a period of being single, and I was Yeah, right before I got married, actually, I
Mhm.
took this soulmate class. And one of the things they talked about was, you're praying and trying to manifest this husband, but yet your bedroom is a mess. No kind of style, no kind of anything, you know, underwear hanging on the doors and everything.
Yeah.
So you're not even putting yourself in the mindset or creating a welcoming space that is inviting in what
Yeah.
you want.
Love that.
Yeah. So
Always love that. Yeah, go
just
ahead.
kind of going back to what you were saying about, yes, we have to do that for as a married couple, but don't wait. Like, create that space now for whatever it is your vision is, whatever it is you want out of life.
Yep.
Even going back to what you were saying about your home should be a place where it helps you thrive in the world. Like, as women, sometimes we wait until,
Yes. Yes. So
and it's
true.
like, do it now, do it
Yeah.
now, yeah.
And it becomes kind of I mean, there's always that first few years of working through things of just being a couple, right? But we don't need to make it harder for ourselves when we have waited to do certain things that should come a little easier for us, a little, because we've kind of already set our minds to it.
Yeah.
So while we're single, I'll give you it's not quite an example of that, but yeah, on the flip side, I guess one of the things I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about the intimacy in the bedroom is that so we've heard the whole men wanted man caves, when they get into our home and things like that. Man caves were already popular,
Mhm.
prior to the past 5 or 6, 10 years.
Mhm.
We already knew that there was a space in a home called man cave, and um, women, you rarely heard of since she shed started popping out where it was this outside exterior spaces where women kind of could have their kickback spaces. Well, over the past 10 years, women have now really gotten serious about their own self-care,
Yeah.
right? And we know for single women, your whole home is your safe haven, is your she cave, right? And we
Yeah.
and we get that. When you get married, then you kind of give up that whole space of doing combining. I'm gonna go back to something you were saying earlier about the underwear hanging around the room and all that, but combining these spaces, and so you feel like you're giving up your, again, no real estate in the home and that type of thing. But back to the intimacy part, I think it's important that we still have spaces that the two of you can go off to and have some quiet time, do the things that you like to do in your space, because that too helps generate and that moments of missing each other, so that when you do come together, I mean, I'm in the she cave most of the time. My office is here, my quiet space is over here where I watch my shows, and he's got his space. But when we come, we always 7 o'clock watch news together. News
Yeah.
10 o'clock in the evening, that's our dinner time, that's our news time. So we always have those moments, no phone, whatever, we do that. So those, again, spaces around our homes are important. Back to what you were saying about being single and then coming. I can't say enough how it's just important to, yeah, like, learn not to be so messy. So
I've heard so many men talk about, like, the house
nasty.
room was nice, and they walked into the bedroom and was like, who is this woman?
Exactly. It's like she pretty, she a nice girl, but she nasty.
Right.
It's hard for someone to now think about how we would see it if we were going into a man's space and things were all over the place. It's like the man that never grew up. Like his mom and dad didn't make
Right.
him grow when he was younger. He got dirty plates and things like that. He know how to clean his space. Well, the same goes for us. And men look at the same thing when they come to our spaces. Do we have bras hanging around and this kind of stuff is going on? Are we, nail polish? Don't put stuff up. The same thing goes for us. And if at some point you're looking for this from a man, for him to know how to provide and to keep a home and to, do all these things. Well, men look for certain things from a woman, right? And
Yeah.
so they're going to want someone who at least they know can keep a kitchen clean, keep a
Right.
bathroom clean, doesn't have hair all over the place. I'm saying that, and I'm thanking God as I'm saying that my husband's not here to hear me say that all over the place. because God knows everywhere I go, my hair sheds. And there is hair on there. I don't intentionally keep hair on this thing, but because I know he looks at that, Lee, I am always like,
Yes.
well, I'm combing my hair, and we don't have a he side, and wherever our home isn't big enough, our bathroom's not big enough. We have a she side. So we're using the same sink in our bathroom. I have to make sure that I am wiping off my hair when I'm spitting out my brushing my teeth, that I'm not leaving that stuff all in the sink. And please don't leave the toilet seat up. That that's my pet peeve. I can't stand it. You are not a single male anymore. So it's now those are living habits, right? That we're talking about. But our living habits spill into the way we keep our home.
Yes.
And the way we keep our homes spills into how we can mentally endure our homes, physically, emotionally, all of that, and enjoy each other. So that's one of those things where prepare yourself, like you were just saying, as a single person, so that when you become married, it's already a routine for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And again, you're attracting all these queens want a king.
Yes.
But we're not living like queens, right?
Say it, girl. Yeah.
So, whatever you're saying you're wanting, are you already it?
Are you already
it for that person?
Absolutely. So. I mean, you're gonna get that in marriage counseling. So you better
right.
You might as well get started. But the living thing, and you'll thank yourself for it, just for being that kind of person. You really will. I have a friend whom and she is meticulously a clean freak. I mean, like, you go to her home, as soon as you hit the door, you got to take your shoes off. And that's another one we'll talk about too. But, you got to take your shoes off. She constantly wipes things down. She vacuums her rugs and just keeps a really clean home. And when she married, I just remember asking her husband, playing around with him one time. Came over, shoes was laying around her. I was like, so you got her to like change her ways of living. He was like, this is a two-way street. This is a married thing. Right. And she said, now, it was hard for me to give up certain things because he walks around his shoes. She said, but we have an agreement that, he keeps them here when this is the only room he can have his shoes on. And so, but they made an agreement, and they had a type of situation where this room only, beyond this room, upstairs, nowhere else can you wear shoes,
Right.
Well, I just thought it was funny, but that's making the marriage work. That makes the marriage work. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so one more question, because we are closing in on our time. And we've talked about a lot of the questions in different ways. I want to talk about, we've kind of talked a little bit about this already. We talked about the bedroom, the living room, and even office spaces, and making sure we balance function and intimacy already. But as an interior designer, what are maybe 5 tips that you can give us about just overall decor? It can be small things that can make a big difference in changing the atmosphere and the feel of a room or a home. And I've seen you do this to many of my spaces, so if you can't think of any, I can get you started. Go ahead.
So, like, when we're combining a space, right?
It can just be it doesn't have to be a combined space, but if you're thinking about 5 like really powerful interior decorating tips that can help a space, what would be those 5 things?
Well, so I'm deeply into like wellness design now, and the idea of intentionally designing spaces for wellness. So I'm going to lean really heavily towards that in my answers, but I do want to say this goes for any kind of space. And while I design any kind of space, the reason why I say that is because ultimately all of our spaces really can help us be and live well. But organization is just going to be the huge thing first.
Oh, wow.
We
Ooh,
can
I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
you cannot design anything when there's no organization. It starts with really clutter, getting rid of any kind of clutter.
Okay. I know. I'm like looking around. I'm in my being walking. No, I'm like,
I'm on board in here, but getting rid of clutter because it's one of those things that if a cluttered space is a cluttered mind is a cluttered space. It filters into other areas of our life. And so, whether you're single or not, I think that's going to be the main thing is not living with clutter, not removing things that if we're bringing in something, really think about, do we need it? And is there something we can get rid of?
okay.
So I will start with that. The other thing I would say is a space needs natural light. I'm
Mm,
go into so many homes that are dark and people live this way all the time, Lee. And it's
yeah.
like they get up and they don't open curtains and they don't open, raise shades or open blinds. And they just get used to it because that's what they're used to coming and living in all day.
Yeah.
But vitamin D is important,
Yeah.
and sunlight is huge. It has a huge impact on how we feel,
Yeah.
how we focus, how we feel, our mental capacity. Sunlight is huge and we need to let in as much as we can in our homes all the time if we can. There's
Right.
filtering options for you if you can't focus and too much light or you can't work. And so, I filtered curtains or sheer curtains and things that you can do around your house to kind of, you know, um, control that. But sunlight is huge and I think every home needs it. So I will go with that.
Okay.
Um, and I'm going to, again, this is kind of an answer, but it's the uh, every home needs the ability to tap into all of our senses. All of our senses need to be ignited when we are working, on creating the types of home environments that really love to experience. And so a part of that experience is igniting all of your senses. So
Mm,
not just is color psychology important, the colors that help relax you and things like that, because that's our visual and that impacts how we feel on the inside. But, the things we smell, helps really us enjoy our homes. The things we hear, I put water fountains in here because I love the sound of water. It relaxes me. Now, not so much my husband because it's like extra noise for him.
yeah.
But I put it in certain spaces where I can hear, or if we're having certain types of moments, I put it on.
Yeah.
So sounds of trickling water or raising the windows to let in nature in the morning is huge for me. When I come in my office, I want to hear the birds,
Yeah.
So I think things like that are important. You got to think about what things do you need to
Yeah.
really better experience. Music in many homes, we grow up with music always playing,
Yeah.
and so for people that are used to having music, white noise in the background, they need that. So
Yeah.
it's what's important really for you. So it's hard to say for every home because it's not necessarily, but in some kind of way, engage all of your senses,
Yeah. Yeah.
that you hear, what you smell, and of course, taste. It can be done in certain many ways as well. So
Yeah.
if I know that, I like to go in the kitchen and first thing I want to, see is some fruit in a bowl because I want to remind myself, the importance of fruit or smelling flowers or just things like that and how it ties into meals or things, because that's how I grew up or whatever, then do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was telling someone yesterday, my grandfather always, I remember going to my grandfather's house. He always had fat bat and olives, and I was eating up the olives at the party yesterday. And I was like, it just has memory. It brings back
Yes.
memories. And I went to
Yes.
school and he still does that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
horrible experience at my grandparents. And so
Yeah.
it just bring back certain memories. And so sometimes we incorporate that into the way we like to live.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that was 5, but I'm trying to think if there's what else did I do for you that you said? Was there anything I didn't mention?
I think when you started decorating for me, I realized the importance of lighting and like not using necessarily your ceiling light for your light.
Yeah.
And like how just using like lamps in strategic places. I think you had put a lamp in my bathroom one time, and I was just like, what? But it's like it adds a different vibe when you walk past your bathroom, and there's a little lamp with a light on it. And I think like little, so now I rarely turn on my ceiling lights. I try to have other lighting throughout the house.
Can't believe I didn't say that. That's like huge. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lighting is important. Every home needs layers of lighting. I
Layers.
think that's where we're going to. So you going for at that point is that overhead lighting can be really harsh anyway for a lot of people. So we're going to have that. We're going to have the overhead, the main lighting, but there are different types of lighting that can really help us enjoy the experience better. So yeah, I mean, some people put a lamp on their kitchen counter, or, just the underhead LEDs now, and LEDs are popular, but you're absolutely right. Thanks for reminding me of that. I can't believe I didn't say it.
Yeah. And then I've always probably had tossed pillows, but now like the two things that you always would get and it would change the room were tossed pillows, throw pillows. You used to have what do you call those wraps or those
Rolls?
Yes, grows, and then baskets. And so whenever I go to TJ Maxx, or even if I go run, because there's a Goodwill near my house, even if I go there, I'll always just kind of look at baskets. And if I just see a really good one, I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do with it yet, but you can do a lot of things with a good basket.
You can. You absolutely can. We get sometimes, that's one of those things where, again, over the years, modern styles just have become now so much more the preference for a lot of people, mainly a lot of younger people too, that they don't like, or I would say the minimalist style. So we'll just put minimalism out there. And so a lot of times things like baskets and throws, they're just kind of gone to not as important or a back burner because people see it as adding stuff to make a space, space. But there are people, again, textures, I would say, added to that list as far as things people need, because texture gives a room depth, and so it's important to put not have just a clean, like hard surfaces. We want depth in a space. You enjoy the space, and textures are a great way to do that. So baskets helped with adding the texture as well as storage. It gave us place to throw those pillows or throw those throws in there. And I think for you at one point, we put a nice storage stool by your door, in your garage door, because you wanted the kids to be able to come in and take their shoes off, sit down and take their shoes off. So that was important. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where, depending on your style, make sure you have a space for it. Make sure you have a use for it, because functionality, I guess if I had to put a title to the 5 most important things, functionality would be number 2. Organization and then functionality. If there's no function for it,
then
don't do it.
Okay, that's good. That's good advice. Well, thank you so much. We have really exceeded our time, but this has been a great conversation.
Thanks.
So thank you so much, Lanada. I really appreciate it. And again, we have all your bio and all of your contact information in the podcast description. So if anyone wants to contact her directly, feel free. And I hope people have learned some things and really use this podcast and this conversation to think about ways to accentuate your marriage, your relationships with design. And then for those of you who have not yet gotten married, think about how this can either attract or help you with your future spouse or partner. So again, thank you so much. And you all have an amazing day. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Love Lately. We hope today's conversation sparked some thoughts and maybe even some inspiration for your own love story.
Remember, love does not have an expiration date. It should always be evolving and growing, and so are we together.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement in their love journey.
And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, just drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, keep finding, building, and enjoying love lately.